Hey folks, Matt Easton here, scholagladiatoria. So I'm going to talk a little bit about an exercise which has helped me a lot due to an injury that I did many years ago, actually during a tournament in Dijon, for those of you who know the event, and probably about 15 years ago. I injured my elbow hitting someone really hard in the head with a sword. It happens, but basically it was an overextension, and this has caused me years of trouble ever since, but I can make it go away with certain kinds of exercise. And one of the exercises that I have found helps the most is one of these Indian club exercises, which we're going to look at here. Now, first thing I should say right off the bat is I am not in any way, shape or form an expert on the use of the Indian clubs, although I have read through some of the manuals and I have done some of the exercises, and I do them. I do a few of the exercises myself, more or less irregularly, but relatively frequently. Obviously, for maximum benefits from doing these, go to an expert channel, of which there are some out there, or expert book or guide or teacher, and of course you should be practicing regularly to get the maximum benefits from these. Before I go on, I just want to say go and check out Ben Miller's video on the kind of endurance aspect of club swinging. That's linked below this video. It's a really good little watch, great little documentary that he wrote and narrated himself and researched, well worth looking at. And it provides an interesting bit of one aspect of the background to Indian club swinging. So one of the first things to point out about Indian clubs is, what are they? They're essentially exercise clubs, but they're a kind of three different forms of Indian club exercising. There are types of exercising which are essentially for show and for gracefulness, and basically doing what was sometimes known as fancy club swinging. In other words, doing very complex patterns with a pair of clubs, of matched weights incidentally. These are each from a pair, but these are obviously not matched ones. And then there's the type of exercise which was often done in schools, for example, and in like Boy Scout groups and things like that. And that was more or less for sort of general fitness and suppleness and this kind of stuff. Okay, so you've got kind of like showing off fancy stuff, then you've got general fitness stuff, and then finally using heavier clubs than this. This is 4 pounds, this is only about 1 pound. So this would have been used for the kind of general exercise type ones, but I'm going to show you a way that you can use it for swordsmanship related stuff as well. And the heavier clubs, so from 4 pounds upwards, were used for strength development as well, and they went up and up and up into giant, great sized ones that were done in conjunction with other forms of early bodybuilding, and of course the use of dumbbells and barbells and things like this as well as body weight stuff as well. So what we're going to look at here is actually an exercise, just one simple exercise that I personally have used to benefit mostly my elbow and forearm and grip strength. So essentially everything from here to here that I've found beneficial for my exercises when we're looking at sword stuff. Now, as I mentioned, these are two different weights, but we're going to do the same exercise with the two different weights just to demonstrate that it can be done. But we're going to start off nice and slow with the heavy one. The other thing before I go on that I want to say is, clearly a lot of you are going to be stuck in your houses or apartments or whatever at the moment. Some of you will have a garden, some of you won't. So this is the optimum thing to be practicing with, is an Indian club, of course, but there are other options. If your space is limited, then you can do some degree of these exercises with something like a hammer. It's better if the object doesn't project sideways too much, okay, because then you're likely to hit yourself with it. But you can do these exercises with just a heavy object. You can, if you have a bit more space but you don't have a heavy object, do these sorts of exercises with a stick, although it's not so good. You really need something with a bit of mass to it, preferably, although you can do the movements at least with a stick. And an option might be, yes indeed, the faithful saucepan. You can actually do these exercises with a saucepan, as I'll demonstrate in a minute. And it has some mass to it, depending on the type of saucepan. I've actually picked a fairly heavier one, and the handle's a bit slippy. It's not really optimum, but nevertheless needs must. And if you're trapped indoors and you've got an object you can practice with, then that's better than no object. The other thing I should mention as well, you should limber up a bit, do a little bit of stretching and warming up before you go into these sort of exercises, even if it's just, stretching out the shoulder, joints and this kind of stuff, limber up a little bit. You don't want to do yourself an injury, and go in very gradually and gently into any unfamiliar exercise. Right, the simple exercise I'm going to show you today, which I will start with the 4 pound club. This incidentally was the kind of British Army standard weight for Indian club exercises. This one is dated to 1894, and it's got someone's name on the bottom of it, which is rather nice detail. So this is an original one. So all we're going to do is you're going to extend the arm out with your object and then let it swing through to here. Okay, so you take your club, point up, you extend the arm out, swing it through and let it come up to vertical. Now, in terms of how you're standing, you really want to be standing, if we go back here, you want to be standing with your feet level. What you don't want to do is have one of your legs out here, because you might swing through and hit yourself in the leg, which ruins the exercise and also might hurt your knee if you hit yourself in the knee. I have hit myself with this club incidentally once, and it does hurt. It's a 4 pound wooden club at the end of the day. So, feet level, okay, body upright, facing forwards. You're not facing towards like you were fencing or anything like this. You're just facing forwards here. Get your arm out, just like in sabre, out of the way behind your back, and we're going to start with the club up, extend, swing through, and then to vertical. Okay, so out, through, vertical, out, through, vertical. And now when you start doing it, actually kind of throw the club outwards, a bit like you're making a cut to the side. Okay, out, through, out, through. Okay, good. Right, now once you've got that, so out, back to vertical, so 12 o'clock, out to 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, depending which way you're looking at it, back to 12 o'clock, good. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to let it go behind the back shoulder. Okay, and once we've gone back to here, so behind the back shoulder, so you've got to have suppleness of the grip and the wrist now. So out, up, round the back, out, up, round the back, out, up, round the back. Okay, so you should be starting up, going out to the side, through in an arc, back up to the top, round the back of the shoulder, then throw out again. Up, round, out. Up, round, out. Up, round, out. Up, round, out. Good. Now what you'll find is actually if you're using a heavier weight and you do this slowly and in a very controlled way, it's actually a great workout for the grip strength, as well as more of a workout for the shoulder. If you do this quicker, I would say it's less of a workout for the shoulder. You might get more of a workout for the forearms that way, but actually the more you're suspending the weight and holding it and controlling it, actually the more your hand and your shoulder is working. So doing this nice and slowly is actually quite a good workout in itself. And obviously remember to breathe when you're doing this. Okay, up. And then you can start to make it fluid. Now this fluidity is something that's talked about quite a lot in the original Victorian and Edwardian Indian club exercise books, manuals. Okay, but as well as fluidity, you don't want to lose the form. So you still want the things to be getting to this 12 o'clock position, going nice and close to the shoulder, out, round. Okay, you still want this to be happening in the correct way. You don't want to just kind of end up being sloppy and just doing this. Okay, you still want to keep the forms exact but flowing and smooth. Okay, there are of course variations. You can throw the hand out a little bit sooner, and if you want to do that, what you can start doing is rocking the body. So you can now turn away and in, away and in, away and in. Okay, and of course you can put leg exercises into this as well. You can time this with squats or lunges or things like this. So a little exercise we can do here is if we get our feet standing evenly apart and we just put this sort of lean into it. So we're just going from left to right while we do it. Okay, so now we go this way as we're hitting, recover, lunge, not really a lunge, but recover, lunge, and obviously the harder you throw it out, woof, you really throw the club out, then it works different things, particularly it works your grip strength and your forearm. Okay, so you can start to you can start to put more whole body movement into the club exercises. Although a lot of club exercises look very uninvolved with the lower half of the body, you can bring lower body elements into it. Right, I'm going to put the 4-pound club down and pick up the lighter club. So this is a lighter club, and generally speaking it's less of a workout because it's lighter. It's 1 pound, that was 4 pounds. That being said, you can do these movements quicker, so long as you keep them precise and they're not sloppy and you're not dangerous, you're not going to hit yourself in the head. You can start to do these movements a little bit quicker. So you can do exactly the same exercise, but you can move the club a lot more quickly, and actually this becomes a good exercise in itself. Now you'll notice there are a lot of things going on in your body and your arm as you're doing this. First of all, you're getting the suppleness and the grip strength of the hand and the wrist while you're doing it. Also, you can start to make this motion here basically like a cut number 7 or cut number 1 even, depending on your angle. So a downwards cut here, and then a follow through is very much like part of the moulinette. Okay, so you've got a cut here and back up to here. Now interestingly, when we're looking at sabre and backsword and broadsword exercises, a lot of these things, if we now come into sabre context, a lot of these things, imagine you've got a cut number 1, you cover around here, cut, cover head. So that's guard 1, is prime essentially. So cut 1, guard prime. If you've come to here and gone round there, okay, this part, if your sword has come through to here and now cut comes in here, you guard there. That's known as sword arm protect, or high octave it's sometimes called. So we've got a cut 1, essentially a prime round here, sword arm protect, bam, back out. So you're now essentially practicing a number of motions that you do get in sabre play a lot, guarding your head on each side, followed by a downwards cut riposte. Okay, so back into the exercise. So remember, we're coming vertical here and out, vertical, out, up, round, out, up, round, out. Okay, right, so just to demonstrate, as I said that I would, you can do exactly the same exercise with a saucepan. Okay, so it's not quite as comfortable or effective, but if you don't have an Indian club, then it's better than nothing. And you can literally sit there on your sofa or stand in front of your sofa watching Netflix and be doing this exercise, and I tell you, it works your grip strength, it works your forearms in different directions, it helps the elbow if you've got any kind of injury. It's gradual, it's kind of, I find it quite rehabilitative. A little bit of upper arm, not so much, and deltoids as well. Okay, to finish off, so I'm obviously known for sword things, and this being a sword channel rather than an exercise guru, which I'm very much not. But this exercise, obviously, as I've explained hopefully during this video, is relevant to swordsmanship in terms of exercising and making your joints and your muscles and tendons more accustomed to the kind of movements we do, certainly in sabre, backsword and broadsword. And I would argue that this is applicable actually to most swordsmanship styles, that sword in one hand at least, like Langmesser or Dusak or whatever. So can we do this exercise with a sword? Well, yes, but you have to be wary of a few things. So I've deliberately chosen a broad-bladed and slightly curved sword, well actually fairly curved sword. It's an 1811 Blucher, so this is 200-year-old original, to kind of illustrate one of the things you have to be wary of and also aware of when you're doing this exercise. So, edge alignment. One of the big things about Indian clubs is that they often move in a motion where edge is not really thought about, okay? Because you don't have an edge on an Indian club, you don't have to really think about it. When you have anything that's curved or sticks out laterally, you have to be more wary of it potentially hitting you. But you also, if you're wanting to practice for swordsmanship, also need to think more about edge alignment, because you care about edge alignment, because that's an important thing in swordsmanship. So we're going to do the same exercise, but we're going to be a little bit more cautious and careful and be particular about a few things. First of all, make sure that your legs are level, that one's not sticking out in front of the other, because we don't want to catch it with the end of that blade. Secondly, make sure your hand is out of the way and behind your back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to practice the motion. We're going to start with the blade up. We're going to extend out, extend the tip, swing through. Notice that you're making sure that the blade doesn't swing past you sideways like this, where it might clip you in a painful place. Okay, but it goes through with the edge leading. Okay, so out, with the back edge leading in this case, through and up to here, round the back. Notice in this position, I'll just change angles so you can see, it's now performing the sword arm protect. Round the back, realign the edge, then cut out. Okay, so up, out, round, round, out. Round front, round back, out. Round front, round back, out. And then gradually, once you've been doing it slowly for a while, you can start to speed it up a little bit, but try and keep it fluid. And if you want to, what you can really start doing is making that cut as much like a cut as possible, so you really throw it out. You can put the head turning and the body movement into it as well. Again, probably best to start off slow. So forwards, back, round, out. Good. Okay, so I hope you get the idea. This particular exercise I found has been marvellous for my elbow because it contains a lot of things in one go. It contains a cut, a recovery, a rotation almost to a parry or guard position. It's got lots of rotation of the forearm like this, which is good for your elbow exercise. It's got an extension of the arm where you throw it out and then you have to pull it back again. So I find that this very, very simple exercise has been really good for me. Obviously there are lots of other club exercises that you can do with the sword if you want, that are equally good and good for different things as well. So you can do this exercises or these exercises with different types of tool, clubs, hammers, saucepans, frying pans and swords. I hope that's been somewhat interesting. Go away and try it, give me your feedback, let me know how it goes for you. Give us a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you really soon. We're going to do a few more tutorial videos while people are stuck at home and can't get to our classes, which will hopefully be beneficial for other people around the world as well who aren't ever able to get to our classes. So I'll see you soon for some more training videos with swords more next time, and check out Ben Miller's excellent video which is linked below, because it's about a different aspect to Indian club training. It's about the kind of endurance aspect mostly, but well worth watching. Excellent video, and go and give his channel a sub as well. Cheers for watching, folks. Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.